Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Education second night of public forum. It is Tuesday, January 28th. We welcome everyone who came to join us tonight. Again, this is the second night of public forum. We had a number of people here last night sharing their thoughts, their requests for things they want us to think about, and kind of clarifying questions on the budget. So we certainly welcome anyone who's here tonight to come up to the podium, and this is your opportunity to address the Board of Education on Dr. Freeman and the administration's proposed budget. We do ask, if you don't mind, when you come up to state your name and your address. There is a sign-in sheet. Again, if you are comfortable doing so, and you can write your name on that, it really helps with minutes. So that the person taking the minutes can accurately spell your name. And we are just going to open it up to the floor, so allow people to come up and address us that would like
to. Hello, my name is Valerie Ferrucci. I live on Little Meadow Road. I have a fifth grader as well as a preschooler who will be going to kindergarten in the fall. I'm here to support the addition of full-time art teachers at the elementary schools for the 2020-2021 budget. This is the second year Dr. Freeman has presented this as a possible addition. Every year the board is very thorough with examining the budget and comes up with items to eliminate and add, and I'm hopeful that the board recognizes the community's desire for this change. What I do not see, however, is a desire from the community on the proposed maker spaces. While in concept they appear valuable, I'm concerned with the staffing, educating, time, and costs of these spaces. I have sent other feedback regarding the budget via email, and I appreciate your time and taking my thoughts into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other people who would like to speak to us tonight, share their thoughts, questions?
If no one else. Hi, my name is Ben Robinson. I live at 79 Elm Street in Guilford. I have a first grader at Melissa Jones and GHS 94. So first of all, I just want to say thank you for all the work you guys did. I really appreciate it. I just have one quick comment. I work in technology. I have for 20 years, and I am kind of always been concerned with the amount of money we spend on Chromebooks. I know I'm probably not I'm in the minority here, but I don't really see the broader appeal of them. I know they're very integrated into schools, and I wish that there was some way that they were less integrated and that money could be spent on art or music or outdoor education. Sounds like art is what's needed now. Just a little history. Chromebooks were introduced and sales were flat, and they weren't selling, and Google does not lose money, and they have very smart people, so they found a market for them, and the market is our children. And I'm not really a big fan of that. I think problem solving is a really important skill that people will need if they want to do well in STEM. And I think good old-fashioned whiteboards and blackboards are the way to do it. But again, I'm in the minority. But thank you for your time.
Would anyone else like to address the board tonight? No?
My name is Elizabeth Stein. I live on Little Meadow Road. I have two children at Guilford Lakes Elementary School, first and fourth grade. I'm here for many reasons. I am in full support of full-time art. We currently have Mrs. Gale House, who's wonderful, but as many people know, she goes from two schools between, I believe she's still Cox and Lakes this year, which really does not leave much time for kids to, once they're set up and in their art project and starting their day, they don't have much time for their lesson, and I really feel that children fall short if they're not given more art in school. It's a huge, which we all know, a huge avenue for expression, for confidence, for children who, it caters to many children and many ways of development. So I'm in full-time art for sure. I'm also in support of more recess time, which I know at this point the day would be very, very long, but I do feel that there's downtime in classrooms, whether it's whiteboard, get your wiggles out time, whether it's teachers trying to find the time within the day to let the kids let out their energy. I think we need to give the teachers the okay to go outside with their kids, to say, it's okay, take 20 minutes, go outside. Don't just have them run around the room and get their wiggles out that way. Take them outside. Every classroom, it's my understanding, every classroom has access to the outdoors. They're all on a single level, especially at Lakes. And I feel like the fresh air is huge. Sunshine is huge. Any opportunity they have in the day to take advantage of that, I think that they should. I, too, am on board with you about Chromebooks. My husband and I both have a background in art. My husband is a motion graphics designer who's on the computer all day. We are very in support of children learning to use computers in the future as far as a source of learning. I think they get plenty of it at home. I do not personally think that they need Chromebooks, or in kindergarten, I believe. I went in there, my son's class, there were a pile of, I know they get Chromebooks later in class, there were a pile of iPads. I guess they use them throughout the day to do games. I understand that teachers need a break. I understand, I support that. I just feel like, they should be using the stations and the centers that they have. It's a huge amount of money, and I, too, support you in that. I do have questions about Makerspace and Theory. I think they're really, really wonderful places. I think it's creativity, tinkering. It really encourages children to build and problem solve. I, too, have questions about what machines are going to be in there, who's going to keep up materials, what teachers are going to run it, how are they going to be trained, how often are kids going to actually be able to use it. I'd hate to see it made and then just collect dust or never really reach its mark. I do think they're wonderful spaces in theory. I just wonder if that's the best way to utilize the space in the school and the budget. And I would hope that children would, if we have them, I hope they get an adequate amount of time in there to really explore. So thank you for your time and everything you all do. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Apologies, we closed the door to try to keep the basketball noise out, and then we, by mistake. No, please leave one door open, no, thank you, I appreciate it, because otherwise then people get locked out, which was not at all our intent. Anyone else who would like to speak to the board tonight about budget stuff? Would you like to come on up? Yeah. I'm going to ask you if you would, just to state your name and address.
Do you want me to sign in too?
That would be terrific.
Okay. I am Barbara Hargreaves, and I live on Landon's Way. And I can't do two things at once at this time of night, so I apologize. I'm sorry I'm late. I had a good time to look over the budget proposal online and on GCTV, so thanks. I have a concern. Well, I have some thoughts. I was looking over the staffing reduction at Adams Middle School, and I guess before I should start, I have two daughters. One is in 9th grade and one is in 7th grade, so one just finished up here, and the other one is here now. And you guys do a great job here of prepping the kids for high school. academically and otherwise. But with regards to language arts, my oldest daughter had such a rigorous and excellent writing program here that I was able to really see her writing grow. And I am concerned that the staffing reduction could compromise the quality of the program. I can understand that the decline in enrollment could equate to some sort of a staffing reduction. It just seems like a lot. 6 teachers, 6 staffing positions here seems like an awful lot. I understand that it's a double period that's going to be changed too. But I wonder what's going to happen to the quality of the writing skills that are being taught by dropping a teacher, dropping that double period. I mean, maybe it's time to drop the double period. I can kind of understand the scheduling need for that. But I am concerned. And this is a tough one because I know that we don't really teach grammar and punctuation and things like that, but the kids still need to learn it. And I feel that, up until 7th grade, I felt like I was constantly saying, you need a comma there. This is not the right tense. And somewhere here, it all kind of got brought back in, whether it's on the curriculum or not. And that's not even the main part, but I feel that if we're dropping the double period, then maybe the curriculum, somehow that needs to be incorporated back into younger grades maybe. And I realize that it's not part of the Connecticut core, but it changes the level of our writing, of the writing that the kids are doing. And so I just have that concern. I wonder, Dr. Freeman, if I think that the literacy coach is great. Is there a way that we don't have to drop that many positions? There's a drop in 50 students, but 6 teachers seems like a lot. And I'm concerned that class sizes are going to go up. Specifically, I know it's my 7th grader. That's the class, and I'm just concerned about that. So I don't know if there's anything you can answer there, but.
You want to spend a few minutes?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to it. So I did mention last night that even after the staffing changes that are built into this budget, we're projecting class sizes in the 7th grade at Adams next year of 19 students on average. If we didn't make these changes, we would be looking at 7th grade class sizes that would be smaller than the kindergartens that we program for.
Right.
So these the changes are in proportion to ongoing declines that are beginning to move into Adams, but particularly a loss of 9% of the student population in this building between this year and next year. So they are responsive to the enrollment declines. They won't drive up class sizes. They'll effectively maintain class sizes and keep them from dropping even lower. To the concerns about the double period, we have talked about that. We've talked about that extensively. In fact, within the district, we have been focused on writing to learn as an instructional strategy that should be drawn across all of the subject areas. So while yes, there will be less contact time in a specific language arts standalone class, you're going to see increases in contact time in math and in science and in social studies. The inclusion of the literacy coach at Adams is a good idea anyway, but the timing of it is essential because those language arts teachers will be needing to make critical decisions, and they will need to decide what to continue to focus on and what things will get less attention. But the literacy coach will also be there to be able to look at the instruction in writing and in reading that happens in the other subject areas. The other subject areas are places where reading and writing take place, even in mathematics. Mathematics instruction is much heavier in reading and in writing, explaining your thinking, explaining your answers in prose than it used to be even a short time ago. We do teach grammar. We just teach grammar embedded in writing
Differently,
activities.
yeah.
And so there's much less stand and deliver, and we don't diagram sentences on the whiteboards the way that we used to. But our teachers do confer with students while they're writing, and they work with the students. There are many lessons on grammar, and then the teacher does move around. We are not minimizing that concern. We're going into this change with our eyes wide open, recognizing that the language arts teachers that continue there need that kind of support. But again, remember that in the current structure at Adams, there are currently 12, so the language arts staffing at Adams is coming into alignment with the math staffing, the social studies staffing, and the science staffing that has existed. But we'll be adding that additional support into that position as well. Dr. Crystal is very aware of the supports that she will be required to provide. Mr. Regan is very, very aware of the support that he will be required to provide. And it's not a change that is uncommon. In fact, the 5-person middle school team model was really common 20 years ago, and it is much less common at this point. There's a lot of other schools that have made similar changes long before we did. We will continue to monitor our students' performance on all of the assessments, on high school readiness. We don't anticipate that we're going to see a drop in performance or readiness because of this. We're going to be surrounding that work support, but we're going to continue to pay attention to that. To maintain class sizes of 15 because we're worried about making a change like that just isn't tenable in a realistic budget proposal. And so we've been making changes in staffing at the elementary schools year over year as enrollments have declined. This teaming model at Adams has insulated Adams, and so it's not unusual in middle schools because the teaming model that changes are delayed, and then happen in larger scope than they do at an elementary school, where it's easy to say 4 fourth grades graduated this year, we only need 3 next year. So it's just a difference in the way the middle school structure sort of, we've been holding on this change for a few years, but now it's time to make the change.
So if this change is made and if the budget gets approved and that all goes through, how will the teachers, the language arts teachers, be supported in terms of, because they'll now be, if I'm not mistaken, so help me with this one. So they will now, just like the social studies teachers and the science teacher, not necessarily math, because I know that there's like an advanced math program and there's an advanced math teacher who kind of works across teams. But so the language arts teachers will now teach every student on the hallway. So so they'll be covering all of, I guess it's the same as social studies and science, but it's different than what they've been used to, though.
It is different than what they've been used to, but they'll be supporting the full team of 80 students in English language arts instruction in the same way that the English teacher at Baldwin does, and in the same way that the social studies, science, and math teachers do here with all of their students. They will have 1 period rather than 2 periods, but those periods all grow a little bit because instead of dividing team time into 5 periods, you're now dividing team time into 4 periods. And again, it's really important to know, middle school philosophy and design 30 years ago was all about content integration. We're actually continuing to move in that direction as we continue to integrate the skills of reading and writing into those other subject areas, social studies, science, and even math. And so again, while those periods are getting a little bit larger, there's room for those teachers. We've been doing intensive professional development with the science teachers here at Adams for the last 1.5 years. It's really challenging to do an in-depth science project in a 43-minute period.
Right.
And so extending even to 50 minutes that this allows is going to provide longer opportunities. And then after the staffing change is made, I know that Mr. Regan has plans on bringing together a scheduling committee and looking at moving to even longer periods with a schedule evolution that again might be similar to what Baldwin went through a few years ago, in which would place, I mean, right now students go from longer periods at Baldwin, really short periods at Adams, and then longer periods again at the high school. And so these decisions are being made in a way to, one, and very importantly, address the declining enrollment. Two, continue to focus on reading and writing as a skill that needs to be integrated in all to the subject areas. It doesn't exist alone. And in fact, the original double period was designed when we were separating reading and writing. We stopped doing that a long time ago and began integrating the two subjects, but held on to the double block period. And three, right, will continue to move the school so that there's a smoother progression for students in the type of class period and tasks that they're expected to engage in from Adams through, from Baldwin through Adams and then into the high school. It will allow the teachers in longer blocks of time to design activities that allow that integration more thoroughly. Again, we're still going to work on things like spelling and grammar.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I didn't actually mean that we don't teach it per se, because I know that we do. I think that it was just, it seemed to me that there was quite a bit of focus. I assumed, potentially incorrectly, it was focused on here simply to prep the kids so that it could up their game, their writing game for high school, so they'd be more ready for that. I didn't mean to, I misspoke saying that we didn't teach it, because I do know that it's addressed. I do like the the longer periods are nice, and it would be nice to do that not just for language arts, but for across the board. So it's nice to hear that, that thought is being put into that. My concern is just that, I have a kid who's kind of in the middle of all of this, and I know that it's just my kid. And so that doesn't matter, but my concern is that my kid is, what's going to happen to get her ready? Because she's kind of in the middle here, in the middle of the double period of English language and to wherever we're moving this to. And so that, I guess, is my concern, is if the plan is to drop staffing positions, what's going to happen to make sure these kids are ready? And the other concern I have is that her class is not as small as the incoming 7th grade class. I believe there's 276 of them. So those classes are going to be larger than 17 and 18, because 270, if you split that in 3, that's 90 on a team.
At the 8th grade, we're projecting class sizes of around 22.
Yeah, so
And
that, I guess.
19 in the 7th grade.
And I understand that you don't want to have a 7th grade class where you've got 12 kids. I totally get that. I do understand that. But I guess that's just my concern. If things go through, is, we don't want to let.
Class. The 7th grade is one of our largest in district, and the other one is the 9th.
Yeah, I know.
Because we both have 9th grade and 7th grade numbers, but it is, so, right, and they're in the transition. They're in this transition, and they're a large class.
And they do so many nice things. All of the class, they do some nice book clubs, the nonfiction book clubs, all of the writing. It was a really good experience, and I would hate to see the quality of the program go down, but.
It will be a different experience. The quality will not go down.
I was just going to say.
Okay,
But it will be different.
Yeah, the time and energy and thoughtful consideration that is going into this decision has gone into this decision by our superintendent, by our assistant superintendent, by the building administrator, Mr. Reed. The teachers. I do hope you trust that this is a really carefully consired and thought out decision. Yeah.
I do.
And that's not to
looking
invalidate
at-
your concerns, but just know that these kinds of things are not made lightly, right? And any concern you're thinking of has been thought of times 10, right? By the
Good.
people who are going to implement this.
Right. When I saw your first I watched it on GCTV. I couldn't make it to the meeting. But when I saw it, I was like, oh, all right, this makes sense. The longer the schedule's out of line. Oh, 6 staffing positions. That's kind of, and that's why I'm here, just to kind of vocalize my concerns so that, that's it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to come forward and provide input or ask a question or?
I was told to listen, and I thought there was a lot of people that I was going to have to listen. But. So my name is Nuria Mueller. I live at 1131 Little Meadow Road, and I have 4 children, 1 in 7th grade, 1 in 4th grade, and 1 in kindergarten. I was just going to write your address. And I am here, I don't know, for a lot of reasons, which I don't know which one to start with. I don't know which microphone, this one? No. Okay. So I am here to advocate for the art program. I think last year we talked a lot and you received a lot of emails from people, and we came here and we told you about all these great things that art does for children that I'm sure you don't want to be hearing for again, because it will take a long time. I proposed last year that we did change the kids' schedule to a 6-day cycle in order to include more time for art. And I don't know if that was given any thought for the upcoming years. Again, this year, my 4th grader had art on Monday, which was great, again, because he had art on Monday. Kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, which means that all the holidays that we have, he missed his art class, so he didn't get as much art as all the other kids that have art on Tuesday or Wednesday or days that we do not have any holidays, so he actually was shortchanged a bunch of art classes. One of the things that I wanted to propose for the...
I'm so sorry. Yeah, you can probably back up a tiny bit and it'll still do the job. Yeah, thanks so much.
One of the things that I don't know if we could consider is that the teachers rotate through the schools if we're not going to have full art for next year, if the teachers can switch their days, so kids who have had art for 5 years on Mondays, maybe that Monday now goes to the other school and then other kids get to have or to not have art on Mondays, instead of my kid having to have art again, because I know the kids at Calvin Lead have Monday and Friday, and it's been there like forever. Our school, which is Lakes, has Monday and Tuesday, and it's been like that forever. So maybe the following year we can switch the days, and then Melissa John can have her on Monday, and Cox can have them on Monday, and then my kids, which I still have another one coming up in a couple more years, will not have to suffer the consequences of having art on Mondays. So that's one of the things. The other thing is, like, I heard about this makerspace that we want to spend a bunch of money on and create all these things, and I'm trying to figure out if last year we talked about not having time for art, where are we going to have the time to have the kids do that? Because if we're finding the time for that, I think I don't want those STEM or maker spaces or whatever we're calling them. I think that I would rather have that money invested in the art program and have my kids have another art class instead of having to use that time to go to this place that we already don't have time. That's what we were told. We don't have time to do more art. So now where are we going to have the time for the kids to use that? And also I support what she said, what Lee said. Who is going to be doing these things with our kids? Is it going to be somebody who's experienced? Is it going to be, I don't even know who would need to do these things, what machinery we're going to keep, how much is it going to cost to keep it up to date, and all that money that we're going to have to spend after we already spent all this money that I'm not sure we can afford. The other thing is the $20,000 or the double stipend for the resident art person that is going to be coming to do more art with our kids next year. I don't want to be rude, but I think that what they came to do with our kids was like a big joke. I forgot at home the little mandala that my kindergarten came up with, which my mom laughed at it when I said, like, oh, look, this is what the kids did in school, and we pay $10,000 for all the kids to do this. And my mom said, like, are you kidding me? Tell them to hire me, and I can do something better and prettier next year. I don't know how could we have paid that much money for whoever came to do it. I think that I have a thought of who did it, and I think that if we're going to be doing this again, we need to have somebody who is like a certified art teacher that can come and give something more to the kids. We don't want to have the kids, we don't want art for the kids to be doing crafts, because if the kids are going to do crafts, then we can use that time, and maybe we can have some parents who volunteer their time to come and do crafts with the kids. That would be so much nicer. My kindergarten today came with like a mandala that she did during her free time, that her teacher put out like these mandalas with hearts because it's going to be Valentine's Day, and they could color and draw, and it looks so much nicer than the little foam sticky thingy that she did with whoever came to do the class, which I think it was probably a waste of all of our money. And in some sense, it makes me get really upset because I feel like we all as parents have to go to work, and we work really hard to be able to afford to live in this town and to pay all of our taxes and to see how our money is wasted in these little things. It's really upsetting. So I'm thinking that I really don't want to support like the makers space, and I think we should use that money for next year and then get us another 2 art teachers that can do a better job teaching art to our kids. And if we're finding the time, maybe then we don't need to change the schedule to a 6-day schedule, and we can just keep it that way. That was one thing, Anna. Let me see, because I have a lot of stuff. Oh, the other thing that I remember is like I saw on the slides that you said you were going to increase the music teacher from lead, and I'm in full support of that, because when I was a teacher, I never understood why me and the librarian had to reduce our salary for a 0.2, and all the other teachers kept their full-time job, as I was teaching maybe 2 or 3 more classes than the other teachers, so I didn't thought it was fair. I thought that if they were going to reduce everybody's salary, everybody who was a special teachers, the PE teacher and the music teacher and the art teacher should have been the same as the library teacher and the Spanish teacher. So I felt like we all should have had the 0.8 on that year that I was working at Calvin Late. I didn't understood why it was only me and the librarian, and how do we choose who's going to be taking a cut of their salary. So I think like if he's not a full-time, I think he should be a full-time, or I think that if we want to save more money, maybe we make all those teachers a 0.8, because then that would save us 0.2 of all those teachers of that salary that we can use to do something else, because they are all teaching the same amount of children and the same amount of classes. They all teach twice a week, all the kids, gym and blah, 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 and they have the same amount of classroom. It's not like you get more classes or less classes, so I didn't understand that, so I'm in full support of increasing his salary to a full-time, or to making them all even at that school or at whatever school it's where we're going to be doing this. Another thing I had seen, the other idea I had was like, for my kid who is in 7th grade, would it be possible to keep the schedule that they have for 8th grade, and we do like I don't know how to call it, like the 8th graders keep having their 2 time period things, like their 2 language art periods, and then the 7th graders that are incoming, they switch the schedule, and then they are the ones that are going to have a different schedule, and then they just have one language arts class. I don't know if that would be a possibility with how would we coordinate the schedule, or how would we do that with the budget or anything, but that was like an idea, like as Barbara said before, it's like our kids are all, I feel like my 7th grader is always in the middle of all these transitions and all these changes and all this everything, and I feel like I don't like it. So I can't remember. I think I have more stuff, but I'm just going to stop.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming and speaking. I wanted to make at least one clarification. So the maker space is not going to be an additional class period, right? So it couldn't be replaced by an art class. It is going to be a space that can be utilized by any teacher in the building, art teacher, any elementary school teacher, etc. So I want to make that clear, that it's in terms of time in a school day, one cannot be exchanged for the other. We heard your concerns and are hearing your thoughts about it. I just want to make that part clear, that can't be exchanged. It is not a class period. It
Okay.
is a space to be utilized and resources to be utilized for.
So then now I have another thought. Like, so then are we having these places to say like, oh, Guilford did this. They have like these great makerspace places, because I feel like we're always like that. We're always like the schools that do all this and we look so nice and people think that Guilford is so great because they do these things, and then we're gonna have those rooms there sitting and nobody's gonna be using them. So how are the teachers gonna use them? Who's gonna train them to use this equipment? When are they gonna have time? How is this gonna come out to be something that is gonna be good for our kids and not just good to say like, oh my gosh, Guilford has these things, it's great. And they were in the newspaper because Guilford make this maker space and they have these 3D printers in the school and all these
I think the decisions are
things.
made because we hope that they will be well utilized and will be a benefit to student learning. So we certainly do not make decisions to get ourselves in the paper. We most certainly take thoughtful approaches to sometimes innovative and creative ways to provide students with opportunities for creativity and innovation, and our teaching staff resources to do unique and different types of projects. I'm not asking you to agree with that, but I am telling you that the motivation is always about how can we best serve our students and how can we provide them with unique, different opportunities to innovate and to learn new things. Thank you. Anybody else? Would anybody else like to address us, be heard?
Hello, my name is Maria Krish. I'm at 163 Long Hill Road. And I guess this is more a question than a comment. I guess I think there's been 3 questions up here sort of about the balance of makerspaces and art and kind of how that's, what the vision is for how that's staffed and how people are assisted in using that. And I was wondering if that's, sorry if it's a duplication, but if that's something that the board could discuss a little bit more.
Yeah, so I'm happy to. I mean, I'd further what Dr. Balistraci said. There's not a zero-sum game between the makerspaces and the art. As Dr. Balistraci said, the makerspace is not going to be a scheduled class period. In each of the elementary schools, we continue to have a space that is still programmed as a computer lab. And those spaces are primarily unused because we've got the technology in the classrooms now. So when we use technology, and I appreciate the comment, when we use technology, we try to use it now in a way that it is organic and integrated into the activities that are happening in the classroom. Teachers very rarely march their students down the hall to schedule a class in a space that has 30 dedicated hardwired desktop computers. That's not the way most of us use computers. The idea would be that those spaces would be converted into art and science hands-on maker spaces. It would be a location in the school that would be available to any teacher in the school to bring his or her students into that space for any kind of special activity. It would be a place where teachers would have the opportunity to design tasks that are very intentionally more hands-on. It's a combination of low-tech and high-tech. The materials and equipment would combine traditional craft materials. You would have cardboard, paper, stationery, tape, glue, paste, cardboard tubes, all of the things that students could use for engineering activities or art activities. We would have at least one 3D printer in each space. We would maintain some traditional computers, and there might be CAD programming, there would be video and audio equipment in the spaces. At the elementary age, it's not unusual to have Legos, and particularly the electrified and robotic-based Lego kits that could be available in those spaces. There will be support and training that will be required. Now, there's always a chicken and an egg between planning and budgeting. If the maker spaces do not make it through this budget, as this budget moves forward, then we will not fully develop the training and support components that will go into place behind the maker spaces. if the art and science makerspaces continue to move through this process, then we will continue to flesh out the draft plans for teacher support. But Dr. Crystal and I are already looking to visit Wallingford. Wallingford is a district in a community that has invested heavily into some technology-based spaces and maker spaces. So we want to go and visit places that have used those spaces well and find out what training did you provide, how did you support your staff. We might invite experienced teachers from Wallingford to come and speak with each of our elementary staffs at early release days, professional development days, faculty meeting days. We know that integral to the support of those spaces will be both the technology support person that we have scheduled at each building. These are not certified teachers, these are hardware people, but I don't expect right now that every elementary school teacher or classroom teacher knows how to work a 3D printer. I don't. So there will have to be somebody that I could also say, I'd like to sign out the makerspace today, and I'm going to need Eric to be there with me when I'm in the space to support. But then really critically is we had a change in staffing in our district-wide technology integration specialist position. We actually reprogrammed that position. That position is now a certified teaching position. We hired a new person into that position after the beginning of this school year. This is a person who is a certified math teacher, has some experience with makerspaces, and one of her primary areas of focus next year will be the launch of those spaces. And then the principals are going to be integral to this. We will not build a special space and invest in that space to then find out that it's not getting used. So as I visit with principals, there will be questions about who's using it, who's getting in, how are they using it, what's happening. We will highlight usages around the district so that if there's a teacher or two in one elementary school who run with it, that we share those experiences. What we do know is that you can't train people up to use technology or a device or a space before getting it in their hands. So will the use of the maker spaces in year one be will it reflect what we ultimately expect for them? No, because we're going to get better at it and our teachers are going to get better at it as we learn with the space. But it's very intentionally intended to be a space for hands-on learning activities to happen. And I've got to stop referring to them as STEM spaces, but as art and science creativity zones or maker spaces. Maker space was always intended to be a generic term, but it's gotten programmed in. So yes, I hope there's engineering activities going on in there, but I also hope there are art activities going on in there. And for teachers who want to do a really hands-on based, it's an alternative place for them to design tasks in. I hope it gets to the point that teachers are fighting for time in there, and Bill's biggest challenge is how he allots the time out, not that we're looking. Right now, those spaces are simply essentially sitting unused for most of the day. So it is very intentionally not something that we're offering in place of art. It is not another special that we're adding to the schedule instead of art. If anything, we think it affords a space where the art standards can more seamlessly be integrated into the classroom instruction, because right now we're struggling less with the budgeting of additional art positions than we are with the scheduling. We have the shortest elementary school day of any DERG A and B school district in the state of Connecticut right now. And finding time is harder for us than finding support for our budgets in Guilford right now. So we'll continue working on that, but this is not something that's being offered in place of an increased art contact time that we're struggling to be able to support in our current schedule. Thank you for the question, I appreciate it.
And actually, just a comment, I'm sure the board's probably aware of this, but the Shoreline Outdoor Educational Center, which is a separate organization, actually has some really great programs that kind of integrate science and environmental, and also basically kind of what you're describing for Makerspace. So that might be a good group to consult if this goes forward.
That's great. Thanks very much.
The other thing I wanted to talk about was if we can provide the teachers and the district with more professional development days when they have more vertical alignment throughout the subjects. My daughter, who's fluent in Spanish, had Spanish during kindergarten, first, second, blah, 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 fourth grade. Then she went into Baldwin and sixth grade, and I thought she was going to do great things, which she didn't, because the only thing that they did was exactly what they did in first, second, and fourth, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's because we have a lack of vertical alignment in the district. She would come home and be like, oh, Mom, guess what did I learn today? And I'm like, what did you learn today? I learned my ABCs. We were marching A, B, C, D. And I'm like, but we do that with the little ones in first grade. That's some of the basic things that they learn. And so she would just be like, she literally just lost 2 years of Spanish in fifth and sixth grade because there wasn't anything else that she was learning except doing like projects that they were working with. Then, thankfully, she came here and she started doing French, and her French class is going great, so she doesn't have to go again to learning the months of the year, which is what her classmates are doing, that we already taught the kids that during elementary school days. So I feel like we need to have more time where teachers can sit down all together in their subject, like all the Spanish teachers and all the music teachers and all the art teachers. I don't know how the alignment for the other special subjects will work, but I feel like Spanish or languages is a very important thing that they really need to sit down and figure out what they're going to be teaching. I feel like there's not like, we have a curriculum for elementary school and then they go to fifth and sixth grade, but it's not like a continuation of what we did in elementary school. It's just like it feels like they just start again from the beginning. It doesn't feel like it's a review of what we did and then they move on with learning other things or doing something that it's new. It feels like it's just they do this in elementary school, then they come to middle school in fifth and sixth grade and they do that, then they come here and then they do that, and then maybe when they move to the high school is when you can start looking for like a little bit more growth. But I feel like it's like, I don't know if I should say like a waste of time for the kids and a waste of money for everyone, because I don't feel like there's like anything that follows, because I feel like teachers, I was there, I feel like we don't have enough time to be meeting with these other teachers to be able to allocate a curriculum, or there's nobody that is there to coordinate those things. So I feel like we need to allow the teachers more time to do those types of vertical alignment. Doing it like once a year, I don't think it's enough time for teachers to get together and do that.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else? All right. We have, I think, two options here, right? One is that we can adjourn the meeting. Another is, Dr. Freeman, if you don't mind, if there are clarifying questions that anyone the board has, just to be clear to the public, what happens next is that we have a special meeting for the Board of Ed next Monday, February 3rd. It is the intention that the board will vote on Dr. Freeman's proposed budget at that meeting. Prior to a vote, there is likely to be discussion around particulars of the budget. There are opportunities for the board to decrease line items of the budget. There is an opportunity for the board to increase line items. And so I don't know if there are board members who would like the opportunity at the moment to ask clarifying questions or anything like that, given that we are ending a little earlier than we might. If not, we can also adjourn.
And we can also continue to respond to written questions. We've received a number of written questions. We continue to grow out the Q&A document. There are outstanding questions between now and Monday. We can certainly respond to those on the Q&A document, which
Terrific.
we will have physically there Monday evening.
Okay.
We can continue conversation and deliberation, and if it pleases the board, as in past years, I'll take the liberty to draft out some suggested areas of reduction and increase based on evolution of the budget over these last several weeks. You know that there was clarification in staffing that needs to be addressed, and so that will obviously be line item 1.
Right.
We do have the auditor's recommendation for pension, which came in after this draft was completed. So that will be line 2, and then I will give you a number of other recommendations based on feedback that we heard here last night and tonight, as well as some of the items that I identified as areas of possible movement when the first draft was put together. I'm happy to do some board question and answer here, but we'll also have all that prepared
Right.
for your deliberations Monday evening.
Is there anyone who wants to take the time now or has particular questions? It sounds like.
I also know that this may be ending earlier than anticipated, but this is also your 5th meeting over the last 2 evenings, and so
That's right.
I don't think anybody would hold it against us if we were to adjourn and come back to this on Monday.
I just want to make sure if there's anyone who had a pressing question. No? All right, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second. All right. Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you everyone
Thank
for
you all
coming. We
again.
really appreciate the input.